Welcome to Election Night in America 2022 and our coverage of this year's Senate elections, where Democrats will fight to retain their slim 50-seat majority. We'll be covering all 35 races on the ballot, so stay tuned as our first results come in at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It is now 7 p.m. here on the East Coast, and we have our very first poll closings of the night, with polls closing in the states of Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Vermont. In Georgia, Ralph A. Warnock is the projected winner. He has defeated Republican Herschel Walker to win his first full term in Congress after winning the 2020 special election. Warnock's win is a huge victory for Democrats, as he was one of the most vulnerable Democrats coming into the election tonight. And so with 50% of the vote, Warnock does have the majority that he needs to win this race outright and avoid a runoff that will occur in December. In Indiana, Todd Young is the projected winner and defeats Thomas McDermott Jr. to win his second term in office. The same goes for Rand Paul. Rand Paul defeats Charles Booker and will also win his second term in the U.S. Senate. In South Carolina, Tim Scott will easily win a second term as well, defeating Kearsel Matthews. And finally, in Vermont, Peter Welch is the projected winner and defeats Gerald Malloy to become only the second ever Democrat to represent the state in the Senate. And so after our first poll closings of the night, Democrats currently control 38 seats, where Republicans have 32, and we still have 30 seats that remain to be called, so there's still a whole lot of gray on that map. And it's now 7:30 here Eastern Time, and we have two poll closings from two very competitive states, these being North Carolina and Ohio. In North Carolina, we can project that Ted Budd is the projected winner and will succeed Richard Burr, who'll be retiring after his third term in early 2023. Sherry Beasley is the former Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, but will fall short of defeating Budd, which means that Ted Budd will win his first 6-year term in the United States Senate, Sherry Beasley winning 46% of the vote to Budd's 50.7%. And in Ohio, we have a victory for Republicans as well. J.D. Vance, who has never run for public office before, will defeat Tim Ryan, a 10-term congressman. After 20 years in the U.S. House of Representatives, Tim Ryan will leave Congress early next year. J.D. Vance has won 51% of the vote to Tim Ryan's 47%. And so after the second poll closings of the night, Democrats are still at 38 seats, while Republicans now have 34, and we still have 28 races to call. We've now hit the top of the hour at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, which means polls are closing in the states of Alabama, Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Maryland, Missouri, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania, making this the largest poll closing of the night, in which we'll be able to call 9 races across the country. In Alabama, Katie Britt is the projected winner. She defeats Will Boyd to succeed Richard Shelby. After 36 years in the Senate, he will be retiring early next year, which means Katie Britt will become the new U.S. Senator from Alabama. While Democrats will win in Connecticut, Richard Blumenthal is the projected winner and will win a second term in office, defeating Republican Leora Levy. In the Sunshine State of Florida, Marco Rubio is the projected winner, winning a third term in office as he defeats Democratic Representative Val Demings with 53.5% of the vote. This is a very strong finish for Republicans in a state that continues to shift to the right. In Illinois, Tammy Duckworth is the projected winner. She'll defeat Kathy Salvi to win her second term in office after defeating Mark Kirk back in 2016 by a solid margin. And in Maryland, we can project that Chris Van Hollen is the projected winner, another Democrat winning re-election to a second term. He defeats Chris Chaffee and will serve in the U.S. Senate until at least 2029. In Missouri, Eric Schmidt is the projected winner. He'll defeat Trudy Bush Valentine to win his first term in office, succeeding Roy Blunt, who will be retiring early next year. Eric Schmidt, who has never run for office before, is now elected the newest U.S. Senator from Missouri. In New Hampshire, Maggie Hassan is the projected winner. She defeats Don Bolduc in a very close election. Bolduc was running pretty close to her in the polling in the last couple of weeks, but Maggie Hassan will come out on top, winning a majority of the vote, much better than she did in 2016 when she won her first election against incumbent Kelly Yott. And so in New Hampshire, Maggie Hassan will serve the state for another 6 years. In Oklahoma, James Langford is the projected winner, defeating Madison Horn and winning his second full term in office. While in the special election, Mark Wayne Mullen is the projected winner, which means that Republicans will hold onto the seat held by Jim Inhofe. Inhofe will be retiring early next year and will be succeeded by Mark Wayne Mullen. Well, in Pennsylvania, we have a major projection to make Mehmet Oz is the winner and will defeat John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor of the Keystone State. Mehmet Oz will come out on top in this very competitive election with a plurality of the vote. John Fetterman's health issues have been a major concern for voters in Pennsylvania, and so as a result of that, Mehmet Oz has been elected to succeed Pat Toomey, who will be retiring early next year. And so after our largest poll closings of the night, Democrats continue to lead with 42 seats, while Republicans are catching up. They now have 40, and we still have 18 races left to call after Republicans hold onto their seat in the state of Pennsylvania. And it's now 8:30 here on the East Coast, which means we have just one poll closing, that being from the state of Arkansas. In Arkansas, John Boozman is on track to winning re-election as he defeats Natalie James to win a second term in office representing the state of Arkansas in the United States Senate. John Boozman, the projected winner. And so this means that Republicans will now get their 41st seat, Democrats still at 42, with 51 needed for control. The map is still very tight, as we have 17 races that remain to be called. Here on the East Coast, it is now 9 p.m., which means we have poll closings in the states of Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. We have major races in Wisconsin and Arizona that may determine the balance of power tonight. In Arizona, Mark Kelly is the projected winner. He will defeat Blake Masters to win his re-election to a first full term in office after winning the 2020 special election against Martha McSally. In Arizona, we can project that Mark Kelly is the projected winner and will win a 6-year term that he'll serve until at least 2029. And with 49.6% of the vote, Mark Kelly will come out just slightly ahead of Blake Masters in the state that Joe Biden flipped in the 2020 presidential election. In Colorado, Democrats are also the projected winner here as Michael Bennet defeats Joe O'Dea to win his third term in office. First appointed in 2009, Michael Bennet will now serve another 6-year term in the upper chamber of Congress. In Iowa, Chuck Grassley is the projected winner. He'll defeat Michael Franken and win his 8th term in office after Patrick Leahy retires next year. Grassley will be the most senior-most member of the entire Congress. In Kansas, Jerry Moran is the projected winner and will win his re-election against Mark Holland in the solid red state of Kansas. Republicans will also win in Louisiana, where John Kennedy runs for re-election. John Kennedy will defeat Gary Chambers, and with a majority of the vote, Kennedy will avoid a runoff and win his next 6-year term. In New York, Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, is the projected winner, although he may not be Majority Leader for long. That depends on how well Democrats do in Nevada, but with a victory over Joe Pinion, Chuck Schumer is the projected winner and will win a 5th term. In the state of North Dakota, John Hoeven is the projected winner and defeats Katrina Christensen, while in South Dakota, John Thune is the projected winner and will defeat Brian Bangs. John Thune has served in the Senate since 2003 and will now win re-election a 4th time. And finally, in Wisconsin, Ron Johnson is the projected winner and defeats Mandela Barnes to win his re-election to a 3rd term. Mandela Barnes is the current lieutenant governor of the state, but he will lose re-election just like Tony Evers loses re-election for governor. Ron Johnson, though, is the projected winner with 52.7% of the vote. And so this means that Republicans have now taken the lead with 47 seats, while Democrats still have 45, and the 8 remaining races will determine the balance of power in the United States Senate for the next 2 years. It's now 2 hours until midnight, and we have poll closings in the states of Nevada and Utah, with a very important election in the Silver State. And so in Nevada, we can project that Adam Laxalt is the projected winner and defeats Catherine Cortez Masto to win his first 6-year term in the Senate. Masto was the most vulnerable Democrat coming into these elections, and she has indeed lost re-election to Adam Laxalt after just 6 years in the upper chamber. This is a major pickup for the Republican Party and the only flip of the night so far. With 48.4% of the vote, Adam Laxalt has come out on top and is currently expected to win by a 1.7% margin against Catherine Cortez Masto. Republicans will also win in Utah, where Mike Lee defeats Evan McMullen and wins his 2nd term in office. McMullen was running as an independent with the support of the Democratic Party, but that was not enough to propel him to victory, as Mike Lee is re-elected to a second 6-year term. And so after these projections, Republicans are now up at 49 seats, just 2 away from the 51 that they need, while Democrats remain at 45. And here it is on the map. The only races we have left are the 4 states on the West Coast, as well as the races in both Alaska and Hawaii. It is now 11 p.m. Eastern Time, which means polls are closing in the Pacific, specifically the states of California, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. In California, we can project that Alex Padilla is the projected winner and defeats Mark Muser to win his first full term in office after being appointed by Gavin Newsom in 2021. While in Idaho, Mike Crapo is the projected winner and defeats David Roth to win re-election to a 5th term. We can also project that Ron Wyden is the projected winner and defeats Joe Ray Perkins to win re-election to a 6th term, representing Oregon in the United States Senate. And finally, in Washington, despite it being a close election, Patty Murray is the projected winner and defeats Tiffany Smiley in Washington. And so after the poll closings we just had, Democrats are up at 48 seats, 50 for Republicans, which means we have just 2 races remaining that will determine the balance of power in the Senate for the next 2 years. We currently have 1 pickup so far for the GOP, and Republicans will have to win either Alaska or Hawaii if they want to take back control. The date is now November 9th because it's 12 a.m. Eastern Time, and we have a poll closing from the state of Hawaii. In Hawaii, we can project that Brian Schatz is the projected winner as he defeats Bob McDermott in the state of Hawaii. Brian Schatz will be re-elected and will serve the Aloha State for another 6 years in the Senate. And so this will be Democrats' 49th seat with only 1 seat remaining. Republicans have managed 1 pickup, and as long as they can win in Alaska, they will win back control of the United States Senate for the latter half of President Biden's first term. It's now time for the poll closing we've all been waiting for, the poll closing in Alaska, the final race we have yet to call. In the state of Alaska, Lisa Murkowski is the projected winner as she is re-elected to her 4th full term in office, defeating both Kelly Tshibaka and Patricia Chesbrough. In the first round of ranked choice voting, Tshibaka was actually ahead at 37.7%, Murkowski in a very close second at 36.5%, but in the final round of ranked choice voting, Tshibaka does lose with only 45% support to Lisa Murkowski's 54.7%. This is the first ever Alaska Senate race to use ranked choice voting and is a major victory for the moderate wing of the GOP as Lisa Murkowski defeats Kelly Tshibaka, a member of the Trump faction. And so with their 51st seat being from Alaska, Republicans will take back control of the U.S. Senate. That is our official projection. After 2 years of a Democratic majority, Republicans will take back the majority themselves, winning 51 out of the 100 seats, which means the Democrats will be out of power in both chambers of Congress for the latter half of President Biden's first term. And this comes as, of course, Adam Laxalt flips the seat in Nevada, giving the GOP their 51st seat after not losing a single one tonight. And on the map, of course, Nevada being the only flip of these elections, Pennsylvania held on by Republicans, while Arizona and Georgia will remain in Democratic hands. But with 51 seats, Republicans have taken back the majority and will control the United States Senate for the next 2 years until 2025. Thank you guys so much for watching. This video was made in collaboration with US Election Analysis, so make sure you check out his channel as well. It will be linked at the very top of the description below as well as in the comments, but make sure you subscribe to this channel as well for the latest midterm coverage. Like this video down below if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys tomorrow.